Bon... Bonjour, bienvenue au Théâtre national de la presse. Avant de commencer, nous avons quelques mesures préventives et importantes à communiquer. Pour prévenir les incidents acoustiques perturbateurs et potentiellement dangereux susceptibles de causer des blessures, nous rappelons à tous les participants de garder leurs oreillettes éloignées de leur microphone en tout temps. When you are not using your earpiece, please place it face down on the middle of the sticker for the purpose that we will find on the table. And thank you all for your cooperation. With that, I will let you go in.
Great. Well, thank you so much for joining us today. Je suis honorée de m'adresser à vous depuis le territoire traditionnel et non cédé de la nation algonquine-anishinaabe, aujourd'hui connue sous le nom d'Ottawa. My name is Marie-Josée Houle, and as Canada's first federal housing advocate, my role is to be an independent, nonpartisan watchdog who holds government and decision makers to account for their human rights obligations related to housing and homelessness. Under this mandate, I was invited by the Métis Nation, Saskatchewan, to see the housing conditions experienced by Métis in the province. This is one of the only reports in Canada to comprehensively examine and document Métis housing conditions firsthand. And during my visit to 8 communities throughout the province, it was clear to me that there are long-standing challenges facing Métis when it comes to having their human right to adequate housing upheld in Saskatchewan. Dans les communautés métisses, le taux d'itinérance et de précarité de logement sont disproportionnellement élevés par rapport à ceux de la population non autochtone. Et ces communautés sont également plus durement touchées par la toxicomanie et les problèmes de santé mentale. Cette situation est la conséquence directe d'une histoire marquée par le colonialisme qui a privé les Métis de leurs droits. Et lors de notre visite, nous avons pu que constater la persistance du racisme et de la déresponsabilisation des Métis. The needs are especially dire in rural, remote, and northern communities. And I visited communities that didn't have an emergency shelter, a women's shelter, or even a food bank. This lack of emergency support means that people in dangerous situations do not even have a safe place to turn to. And many of the homes in northern communities are aging and in need of expensive maintenance and repairs, and exorbitant utility costs that, compounded by people living in poorly insulated buildings, makes heating homes really difficult, if not impossible. Across the province, in both large urban centers and in small communities, I met housing providers who are overwhelmed by the impacts of the drug toxicity crisis, and many people need housing with supports to be successfully housed, but there's simply just not enough. So often they're left with no other option than to sleep rough on the streets or in encampments. And at the same time, housing providers are contending with unstable funding, while employees are expected to deliver more complex services increasingly at their own risk. And the pressures on housing providers and their staff are absolutely unsustainable. Le constat est le même dans l'ensemble de la province. Partout, les Métis font face à un manque de logements abordables, sûrs et habitables. But the good news is that the approaches to housing and housing precarity that were brought forth by the Métis Nation Saskatchewan, that they respond, they absolutely address the deep needs for housing in innovative ways, and they've proven to have great success. So my message is to decision makers at all levels, they need to recognize the successes of the Métis and what they bring to the table. They're the unique know-how, they know how to address the needs of their people. And they've brought forth culturally appropriate solutions that are pertinent and absolutely efficient when they are facing these large challenges in their communities. So our report makes recommendations to all levels of government to remove barriers to housing for Métis in Saskatchewan. In particular, the recommendations call for the recognition of Métis self-government and the transfer of programs to Métis jurisdiction. More funding for emergency housing, supportive housing, and affordable housing is needed across the board. Ce rapport et ses recommandations permettront à Métis Nation Saskatchewan de faire valoir le droit à un logement des Métis dans le cadre des négociations qui s'amorcent en vue de la conclusion d'un traité avec le gouvernement fédéral. While every government has a role in improving housing outcomes and eliminating homelessness, it's imperative that all governments work together. And the current trajectory, as it stands, threatens to overwhelm an entire generation. So to make progress, we need sustained effort, funding, and cooperation to address the root causes of inadequate housing and homelessness. The goal of my work and the role of the advocate is not just to be a witness, but to help drive systemic change on housing issues. And this report provides the foundation for the transformational change so that every Métis person, family, and community in Saskatchewan can have their human right to housing realized. And now that I spoke of the gaps and areas that need attention, I'm going to turn it over to my colleague, President McCallum, to talk about the positive things that Métis Nation Saskatchewan has accomplished with the very few taxpayer dollars and support that they so desperately need. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, everyone listening in, and the great work that the committee has done in regards to the findings we have in front of us in regards to the needs of housing in Saskatchewan. We are very focused in regards to what we can do for our people, and taxpayers' dollars that do come to us, we use in a very good way to be able to address the issues in Saskatchewan. The monies that we've been getting from the federal government, we have in the last 6 years, I would say a little over 6 years, we have over 300 first-time homeowners in Saskatchewan. The repair program that we have, and we're thinking outside the box. We are in a unique situation in Canada now to be able to now look at reconciliation, to be able to put it on governments like the Métis Nation of Saskatchewan, to be able to resolve and find avenues to resolve the issues that we have as far as housing. And to be able to have a report like this that's so unique and distinct and very focused in regards to where those gaps are. It's on everybody, governments, opposition, to be able to work together and to be able to come up with the support system that's needed for our people in Saskatchewan. When I talk about distinction, I talk about the approaches and the delivery systems that need to be there. It's got to be outside the box thinking. You know, we don't fit within the provincial policy or provincial policy. We, as a government, in the last 7.5 years, have done a great job to be able to build our government and to be able to take on the task of finding solutions in regards to what our people are facing. And we need the government support in regards to doing that. And we'll continue to be able to succeed and to be able to make programs available to our people in regards to housing. So I look forward to continuing this conversation, to be able to highlight. There's meetings going on right now. The budgets are coming down. We're going to work hard to be able to meet with the right folks and to be able to put our information forward to them so they can make the right choices in regards to what they fund in Saskatchewan, especially the housing one, the biggest ask that we have. So it's urgent that we, hopefully, that government reads and opposition reads this report, and to be able to know that we've done our homework, we have the structures in place in Saskatchewan to be able to do the work that needs to be done. So with that, thank you very much.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for being here today, and thank you for the good work. I am Loretta King, Métis Nation Saskatchewan Minister of Infrastructure and Housing, and I'm pleased to be here with our President Glen McCallum and my colleagues to be a part of the release of the final report from the National Housing Advocate. I am proud to say I am from northern Saskatchewan, where the landscape is tranquil and the people are warm. Unfortunately, many in our northern communities, housing situations are far from ideal. Métis Nation Saskatchewan citizens, especially those in remote and northern communities, lack the basic infrastructure of affordable housing. The cost of living is soaring, and utilities add a major barrier to monthly living. As the democratically elected government and voice representing Métis citizens living in the province, affordable and safe housing is a priority for the Métis Nation Saskatchewan government. Many houses were not built to or maintained to current standards. Métis Nation Saskatchewan has piloted innovative housing models to address the housing supply. Our government is doing its part to address the situation and find solutions in all regions of the province by partnering with Saskatchewan, Canada, and community organizations to make that happen. Transitional housing is also currently being built for Métis and non-Indigenous women, removing themselves from abusive situations. Everyone has the right to safe, affordable housing. We can only do as much as our resources allow. A funding gap for transitional housing and wraparound services remains. In addition, existing funding is not long-term or predictable. We need sustainable partners, funding, and continued cooperation among all governments. The unprecedented review on Métis housing conditions conducted by the Federal Housing Advocate found current provincial and federal funding models do not adequately meet the basic needs of our citizens. Our citizens have culturally distinct needs, and Métis Nation Saskatchewan is here to help identify and support them. The Federal Housing Advocate recommends, and this government supports, that the federal government work with us to continue incentivizing innovation and productivity in the housing sector by supporting Métis-owned enterprises. As we continue to pursue self-government, taking care of our citizens, where they live, for future generations, is work we are proud to do. The Métis Nation Saskatchewan government and its citizens are close to realizing the dreams of 150 years ago. Partnerships are crucial to the continued success of our Métis Nation Saskatchewan government, meeting the housing needs of our citizens. This is our moment to move forward and achieve success with our partners for today and generations to come. Thank you.
So now we'll go to the question period. As a reminder, one question, one follow-up. There's currently no question online or in room, so that will conclude the press conference. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much.